So we want to solve these two equations here. Okay, so let us solve these equations. Now we have to remember that in an equation we have left expression equal to the right expression. And in order to solve the expression, we need to make sure that what we do to the left, we do to the right to keep the balance. We also have to remember that we want the variable to be on one side and separated from the constants. Constants are those numbers, these fixed numbers. This is a constant, this is a constant term. Let us solve these equations. When we're solving equations, we have to remember that all equations are in the form left expression equals to the right expression. And when we're solving, we have to remember that whatever we do to the left, we do to the right, and that we want the variable to be only on one side, and we have to separate it from the constant terms. These are the constant terms. 5 is a constant term, 8 is a constant term. So we want the x squared separated from the constants, and the let us solve these equations. We have to remember that when we have equation, it means that the left is equal to the right. And to keep the balance, we need to make sure that whatever we do to the left, we do to the right. And we have to remember that when we're solving, we want the variable to be on one side, and they are separated from the constant terms. These are the constant terms, positive 5 and positive 8. So we want the x squared to be separated from them. So in order to solve this, we can start with taking away x squared from both sides, because I don't want to see an x squared on the right side, because I want it to be separated from 8. So I'll take away x squared from the right, and I'll have to take away the same thing from the left. So minus x squared from the left and minus x squared from the right. So now we know that this gets cancelled here. X squared minus x squared is 0. And therefore we'll have here, okay, when we simplify, we'll have here 2x squared plus 5 equals 8. Now we notice that there's no more x squared on the right side, but on the left side we have 2x squared plus 5. So the constant and the x squared are still on the same side. So what we're going to do is we are going to subtract 5, take away the 5. So I'm going to take away the 5 from the left side, and I'm going to take it away also from the right side. So now we'll have plus 5 minus 5 becomes 0. And therefore, we're going to get here mm, 2x squared equals 3. And then now we can get the x squared alone by dividing both sides by 2. Then we'll have x squared equals 3 over 2. And then we get the square root. So we'll have square root of x squared over square root of 3 over 2. Okay, now let's continue over here. So we'll have square root of x squared is x equals plus or minus. Now square root of 3 over 2 can be expressed as square root of 3 over square root of 2. Now we don't want a square root at the bottom, so we'll rationalize. So we'll multiply by 1, but we're going to use square root of 2 over square root of 2. This is equal to 1. Okay, so now we'll have x is equal to plus or minus square root of 3 times square root of 2 is square root of 6 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. And we stop here. This is the final answer. Okay, now let's move on to the next equation. So we have here 1/2 x cubed minus 9 equals 5/4 x cubed plus 15. Well, what makes this equation a little more complicated than the first one that we solved is that there are fractions in it. And it will be easier if there are no fractions. So we can use the idea of what you do to the left, you do to the right in order to get rid of those fractions. So the first thing that I probably will do is I want the 1/2, the 1/2 to become a whole number. So how do I make 1/2 become a whole number? I don't want a fraction. So to make it a whole number, we can multiply it by 2. So to get rid of the 1/2 from the left side, I'm going to multiply the left side by 2. And whatever I do to the left, I have to do to the right. So I'm going to multiply the right side also by 2. So now we have to remember that when we are multiplying fractions or when we're multiplying a number, a whole number, we can put a 1 underneath. And then when we multiply it by a fraction, let's say 1/2, then it's going to be top by the top. So 2 times 1 is 2 over 1 times 2 is 2. And that's going to be 2 over 2 or 1. So when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply top by the top, bottom by the bottom, and we simplify. Okay, so here what we could do is put a 1 underneath the 2. So that when we multiply it by this fraction, we know 2 times 1 is 2, over 1 times 2 is 2, and 2 over 2 gives us 1, and we'll just bring down the x cubed. So 1x cubed. We can put the 1 or we can hide the 1. Minus, now this is a whole number, so we'll just do 2 times 9. So 2 times 9 is 18 equals, now this time we will do 2 times 5, that's going to be 10, over 1 times 4 is 4, x cubed, plus 2 times 15 is 30. All right, so now my equation has only one fraction left. Originally, there are 2 fractions. After multiplying both sides by 2, we only have 1 fraction. So I just want to get rid of that fraction, and in order to do that, I'm going to multiply the left side by 4 and the right side by 4. Why are we multiplying by 4? Because if I have 10 over 4 times 4 over 1, if I have 10 over 4 times 4 over 1, it's going to give me 40 over 4, or I can cancel this, and I'm going to get 10 over 1, or simply 10, and therefore no more fractions. So let's multiply this. So we're going to have 4 times x cubed is 4x cubed minus 4 times 18 is 72 equals 4 times 10 is 40 over 1 times 4 is 4, so 40 over 4 is 10 x cubed plus 4 times 30 is 120. Okay. So now no more fractions. We just need to isolate the x squared and separate them from the constant terms. So, okay, so to do that, I'm going to start off with taking away 4x cubed. I'm going to take 4x cubed from both sides. I can decide to take away 10x cubed, but here, because I don't want to see negatives, I'll take away 4x squared instead of 10x squared, x cubed. So now we'll have, okay, so this cancels, and we're going to have negative 72 equals 6x cubed plus 120. Now we'll take away 120. Take away 120. This cancels, and so we're going to have negative, this is 2. 7 times 2, 7 plus 2 is 9. Negative 192 equals 6x cubed. So let's continue over here. So I'm going to have negative 192. Okay, we're going to divide both by 6. So negative 192 over 6 is equal to 6x cubed over 6. And so we'll have x cubed is equal to negative 192 divided by 6 is negative 3. That's 18. There's an extra 1. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So negative 32. So now we're going to undo the cubing. So we're going to do cube root of both sides. So cube root of negative 32. And so that's going to be, we know that cube root of negative 32 is the same as cube root of negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Okay, let me just erase this. Times negative 2 times negative 2 equals x. So again, negative 2 times negative 2, 4 times negative 2, negative 8 times negative 2, 16 times negative 2, negative 32. So Now we are looking for three identical factors. So negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8. Square cube root of negative 8 is negative 2. And then this 2 here is not enough to bring out of the cube root. So we'll have here cube root of positive 4 equals x.